We are live. We're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday service.
Ooh,
I am Ben.
and I'm Cammie.
Oh, jeez, that sulfur went right up my nose. We have a new plan today.
Are you going to talk about the cigar plan?
You can do it.
Try not to get burned. We got one cigar, and whoever is not reading gets to smoke the cigar. So, take turns.
That feels like a good compromise because we already smoked a cigar today.
Yeah. You're better at talking. Why don't I light that up for you?
Yeah, nice try.
So, thank you everyone for joining us. We are on, is it chapter 3?
Mm-hmm.
Chapter 3 of well, I guess there's a banner back there too, but 2,000 Miles Together. Story of the largest family to hike the Appalachian Trail.
That's us.
Yeah.
And different this week because it's daylight savings time. So it's bright outside.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you can hear the birds chirping on the microphone, but we have the door open because it's warmer outside than it is inside. And I don't like paying for heat when I don't have to.
It's true.
That's hiker trash for you. And this week was kind of fun because we actually just got back from the trail yesterday.
Yeah.
We were on the trail for 3 days. And actually, what's kind of cool about this, today's reading is about where we went this week.
To feed hikers.
So I'm sure it'll come up.
People
People said they wish that we had 2 microphones, so you got to hop over there if you want to talk.
Squeeze in here.
All right.
Okay.
Are we ready to start?
Yep.
I think I'm starting.
Yes.
All right. If you are just joining us, welcome to the live reading. If you're new to one of these little talky things, one of the reasons why I do it is because, we just released our audiobook, and I wanted a way to get the audiobook to people for free. I mean, this is like the next best thing to the audiobook, although the audiobook, I think, has higher sound quality and whatnot. But we wanted a way to be able to interact with you guys, whether you've read the book or not. So you could type questions, or you could share your feelings or thoughts on a particular thing from the book or your life even.
Yeah, no one's saying anything yet.
It's not limited, so feel free to type something in there if you want. Makes it more fun from our end to see who's out there doing what. Okay. We are going to start with chapter 3. The towns are salvation. And I have these quotes at the beginning. I'm going to read this quote right now. It says, "Truth, being limitless, unconditioned, unapproachable by any path whatsoever, cannot be organized, nor should any organization be formed to lead or to coerce people along any particular path." These, of course, are all foreshadowing quotes. Man, I'm really hoping the chat's working. Either you guys are really quiet.
Can someone say something?
Just type a letter in. For goodness sakes, is this broken, or are people not feeling social right now?
Even an emoji?
It has me concerned.
Yeah, it makes me think that something's going on too.
Either something's not working, or people don't like us. What do you think the answer is?
I'd like to think it's just not working.
I think so. No, I think people maybe just don't like us.
Or they're just shy, which is okay.
Yeah, I'm learning not to take things personally. That's what the book tells me. Enable live chat.
All right, cool.
It says...
Well, if you want to be the first one to say hi,
by
all means.
Now would be a great time. Okay, here we go. Our newfound motivation was like a warm blanket. Am I supposed to, if you want to know where we left off, it's your responsibility to go back and check that out yourself, because I'm just hitting the ground running.
Chapter 3.
I know, but I feel like it's been a week since they've heard from chapter 2,
Yeah.
Our newfound motivation was like a warm blanket around our shoulders as we got back on the trail. But by the end of day 6, the misery of the freezing cold and our heavy, sore legs was starting to sneak under the warm blanket. It occurred to us that the big picture goal of making it to Lakeside would be an effective long-term motivation, but we needed a second level of short-term motivation to counteract the immediate moment-to-moment discomfort of the hike. So basically, I am going to summarize, even though I said I wasn't going to. Back at the cabin where everyone is barfing, Blood Mountain Cabins, on day 4 or 5-ish, we came up with this plan to go to camp, which meant this tight deadline. And whatever excitement we have that's supposed to propel us for the next 5 months is like, okay, that was fun for 5 minutes. Now you're cold and wet and tired already, and your shoulders are hurting. What you going to do about it? Cammie and I soon discovered we could take the same concept of a motivating goal and break it into smaller chunks. The younger kids especially needed smaller rewards over shorter time periods. Filia, who was only 7 years old when we started the AT, didn't understand how long a month was, let alone 5 months. And Rainier couldn't grasp numbers yet. His only metric of future time was tomorrow, which he also used to refer to anything in the past. So we began using gummy bears and granola bars as small rewards at singular time intervals, instead of just eating them when we were hungry. This also helped with the nutrition deficit we were facing from burning so many calories. It's amazing how much joy and inspiration even one gummy bear can bring when you've walked for miles in the cold. The gummy bears are kind of a pretty big theme in the book, which is why we have them on the cover there. Our multi-level motivation system worked. On day 6, we hiked the most miles we'd done yet, 11.5. We still hadn't hit the magic number of 14 miles per day, but we were in the double digits. On day 7, it got so cold that we wrapped Rainier's limbs in hand warmers, but we kept moving, and we made it 13.4 miles. We were getting closer and closer to the average we needed. Having something to look forward to, even something small, had made all the difference. All right, do you want to take over the next section, or do you want me to do it?
You can do it.
All right, we got to switch seats here. Welcome if you're just joining us.
Okay. Okay. The first town. Even though the gummy bears were nice, they only worked for about 5 minutes at a time. As we continued, we found that contrary to popular perception, much of the AT is not in the remote wilderness. The trail crosses over regular roads and ways.
Dude, hang on. People are commenting. It's just not showing up here.
Oh, no.
Look, I can see it all here.
Oh, no. Sorry. We can't see it for some reason. We're not trying to ignore you.
All right. You keep on talking. I'll get the chat box up.
All right. Okay. The trail crosses over regular roads and highways and brushes past tons of towns as it snakes its way north. It was often possible for us to leave the trail and head into town, stay in a hotel overnight, and pick up at the same spot on the trail the next morning. Coming into a town felt like finding an oasis in the desert. After days of cold, fatigue, dirt, sweat, and bland trail food, the towns were like a shining beacon of hot food, clean sheets, bright lights, and warmth. The first major town we hit our hike was Hiawassee, Georgia. We'd reserved 2 hotel rooms and kept the kids moving for days with promises of the pool, hot showers, and a breakfast buffet. As we hiked, I'd overhear their plans for that breakfast buffet get more and more detailed and excited. It was hilarious to listen to a bunch of kids having delirious daydreams about something as simple as a hot meal. Except that Cammie and I were doing exactly the same thing. Here, I'm going to show you. There's a journal entry from Dove. You see that? And it says, big motivation, big motivation. Ooh, you got some big motivation. She was 16 at the time.
Can you name that song? Or name that artist?
Yeah. Big motivation. Big motivation.
Okay, hang on.
Ooh,
we gotta check out this
big motivation.
this comment thread because all these people are commenting, but I just couldn't
Okay.
see it.
Oh,
Where'd
glad
it go?
we figured this out.
Okay, there it is.
Hopefully. Oh, okay. Smiley Happy Radio. Hi. Hello. Be safe with cigars. Okay, we'll try. Right, Voss. Hi, Ben and Cammie. Has anyone broken your Flia's record in the last couple of years? I feel like someone has.
I think someone beat it the year after.
Flia's, not the big family, I don't think. But
that could be a while.
Claire says hi from the Torgerson family in Michigan. Happy to be joining you again. Our kiddos have their gummy bears and granola bars ready. Oh, that's so great. And then, am I saying this right? Raphael, I found you during the first lockdown and now I'm preparing for my own through hike next year. Awesome. Kelsey says, hello once again, back for week 3. Nice. Evelyn says, we love you guys. Thank you. Thomas says, hi from Tom in the UK. Thanks for posting me the book. Nice. Okay. Great. Taylor Swift. Oh, yeah. Kelsey got it. Kelsey got it. Okay. We are back. Okay. We had arranged for a shuttle driver to pick us up and drive us to our hotel in Hiawassee. After spending a week essentially isolated in nature, civilization looked weirdly bright, loud, and intense as the shuttle drove us into town. And this was like not a big town, but it still felt that way for us. Look, Memory yelled as the shuttle whipped us through the streets. She was pointing at a billboard for Hardee's with a giant juicy burger on it. Our stomachs all rumbled in unison. And 10 seconds later, Memory pointed again. Can we go there too? It was a local coffee shop. I looked at Cammie, who'd been in the throes of coffee withdrawal since our hike began. I need to go there, she said. The hotel would have to wait. The squally. He's like, leave me alone. This became our town arrival ritual. We'd hit as many food spots as we could. Fast food, then a cafe, then a grocery store to pick up supplies for the hotel room. In the grocery store, we walked up and down the aisles and just stared. The abundance was overwhelming. We had no idea where to start. There were so many people, so many options. We weren't sure how much to buy. We saw a few other hikers in the store. We could spot each other from a mile away. To the outside world, we looked like people to avoid. Dirty clothes hanging off our obviously unwashed bodies and all. But among each other, we felt like part of an underground fraternity. After the grocery store, we walked to the Holiday Inn Express. We had 2 rooms next door to each other, and we spread our gear over the entire space. Our insulation layers, jackets, and gloves were all wet. The wet wipes were frozen together. It felt good to be free of wet clothes and know everything would actually thaw out. For the first time, we didn't have to think about staying warm. The sudden comfort and ease opened up our minds in a way we hadn't anticipated. We dropped the icy, tough, emotional guards we'd all put up against the wind and rain on the trail and actually started enjoying ourselves again. We snuggled up to the fluffy hotel pillows, something we definitely didn't have in our tents. Dove charged her iPod, Eden organized her gear and tried to dry everything out. Seven turned on the television. Even the commercials seemed interesting. I know. I just remember just like sitting there, just kind of being a little bit in shock. Filia rolled around on the carpet, and Rainier ran around naked between the 2 rooms, jumping on the beds. That night in Hiawassee, since all our clothes were drying, we walked around town in flip-flops, shorts, and rain jackets with no bras or t-shirts, even though it was 40 degrees. We looked like extremely out-of-style homeless people, but we didn't care. Hikers affectionately refer to the aesthetic as hiker trash. For dinner, we went to Daniel's Steakhouse. Oh, this is great. A rundown, all you can eat Southern buffet that did not serve steak. The restaurant was littered with Bibles and Gone with the Wind paraphernalia. To our family, it was exotic, bordering on bizarre, but we didn't care. We just focused on the fried chicken, macaroni and cheese, mashed potatoes, and in what seemed like an odd, old fashioned touch, tons and tons of margarine, which wound up being one of the hallmarks of a meal in Georgia. We stuffed ourselves to satisfaction with what felt like the best food we'd ever tasted.
We just got in a conversation about all these hikers, about Daniel's Steakhouse, because all these hikers had just been there, and everyone was like, what the heck? There was no steak, but it's called Daniel's Steakhouse. And the food was like, I don't want to say terrible, but
it was all right. I remember we had a really nice and good server. She was really nice. But the Gone with the Wind mixed with the Bible theme was really strange. Okay, the best part was that we'd arrived in Hiawassee on a Friday night, so it was Shabbat night. In our much more religious days, Cammie and I had explored our roots and found answers to many of our questions in the ancient practices of Judaism. One of these practices was in the practice of Shabbat, or a rest day on Saturday. We'd brought it into our family, keeping it a special day of celebration where we abstained from work and most social activities to enjoy peace at home with good food and the company of each other. Now we celebrated the upcoming Sabbath by stuffing ourselves and letting each of the kids order their own soda, a rarity for us. Resting at the buffet in that small town in Georgia, so far from home, we were reminded of who we were back home. All right. Time for the swap. This is mine, that's yours.
Fight for together and share cigars. Okay. This section is called Town Luxuries. If you just joined us, welcome. We're glad you're here tonight at the Sunday service. If you stay tuned, we do have a special musical guest coming up. Not going to give it away. This section is called Town Luxuries. Did I say that already? The towns made us realize how much we missed, but also reminded us of the life tasks we wanted to stay on top of. It was the only time we had internet. Being in town was our only opportunity to upload videos to YouTube. Hey, Christina. 3 years earlier, our family had started a YouTube channel called Fight for Together. Our goal was to share the importance of the most difficult relationships, family ones, by filming the normal everyday parts of our lives. We recorded family meetings, fights, road trips, chores, and our struggle to figure out how to do family in the age of technology. It was a daily vlog format that we published 5 days a week. As we quickly discovered, most people don't find our normal life that interesting. After 3 years, we only had 7,000 subscribers watching our videos. According to all the social media advice out there, the number should have been much higher for such a consistent and sustained effort. But although we were never paid for our videos, we treated their creation like a job. It was important to us to create the best content we could, even if we weren't seeing the kind of ROI we'd expected. Yeah, in the beginning, I don't know if I'd do it the same now, but we didn't have any ads on our videos until after we hiked the AT. Even the AT videos, when they first came out, it didn't have any ads on them, which translated means no money for us. So we made 3 years plus of videos, almost 4 years, without any money. I think we might have had a Patreon account maybe on year 2 or 3, but that would bring in like $100 a month. And it was almost a full-time job. It was probably 30 to 40 hours a week. But we got a lot of practice in, so I don't regret it. Christina says she's already read the book, but can't wait to hear someone, not going to say the name, but I want to give it away to everyone else if you don't know who the musical guest is. Hey, Courtney and Mr. and Michael Cranmer.
He's like, yes, I made it.
We're glad you made it too. Welcome. Where was I? It was also, however, a ton of work, the kind of work we couldn't really see happening alongside a through hike. We're talking about editing videos now. So it seemed natural to put the channel on hold when we decided to hike the AT. After all, part of the point of the hike was to get away from the distractions of the modern world. But as our departure grew near, we started to see that sharing our time on the trail would be the best opportunity to share what we were the most passionate about. 3 years of filming, editing, and uploading videos had been the perfect training for this event. We considered what it would take to capture every step of the journey. We would have to carry cameras, batteries, SD cards, cords, a drone, and a laptop for editing. Heavy, cumbersome equipment. When the name of the game in through hiking is the lightest load possible. We had never heard of anyone hiking the AT with a laptop. After a lot of back and forth, we decided that it was worth the hassle and extra weight to share our picture of what family togetherness could look like. A trail vlog just seemed like too cool an opportunity to pass up. As we hiked, we posted videos of our experience. Each video began with the introduction we'd recorded back in the cabin on day 4. We're the Crawfords. We have 6 kids and are hiking the Appalachian Trail, a 2,200-mile hike from Georgia to Maine. We don't know if we can finish it, but we are doing it together. That was really a big decision that we made to vlog the trip, because originally, I mean, our videos were not getting a lot of views. Our videos are getting like 100, 500 views, something like that per video, which for the amount of time it took, we were just like really wondering if the whole thing was worth it. So then when we left for the trail, at first we weren't going to do it. And then we kind of decided maybe this will be like
well, I was just wondering if it would just be worth it in the long run. Like, even though, right now we didn't have a huge subscriber base or anything, I just thought, well, maybe eventually it'll feel more worth it.
And it really changed our trip because so many people started watching the videos. I mean, there's a good chance that people in this chat room right now watching this video are here because you saw our trail videos. So it ended up being a really fun thing that I'm really glad we did.
And I realized in going back and feeding hikers last week, so many of those people said, I saw your videos. So yeah, it really kind of brings home that every year there's a new batch of potential through hikers, and they're all out there like looking at videos, and ours like inevitably show up. We have so many of them.
This is really funny. Kelsey says, when you finally monetized your channel, I was elated, but then that first influx of ad revenue didn't even go to you. How are you feeling about that to this day? That's really funny. Okay, so there's a story. We finally decided to monetize the ads, or monetize the videos and turn on ads. And then I didn't look at the money for 6 months. I didn't really think about it. I forgot to check it. And it turns out that we got I think it was $16,000, if I remember right, had come in from ads, but I never got the money. So then I went to go see what was up and where the money was going. And it turns out it was going to my old business partner's bank account, who won't talk to us because he wants us to only talk to him through the church that we essentially kind of got kicked out of, or these church people. So he won't even talk to me directly. So I sent him an email and say, hey, can you give me the $16,000 back? And he's like, I won't talk to you. So we never got that money. We never have it. So it kind of...
I don't think too much about it anymore, but definitely when it first happened, it took a while to kind of let go of that and just not feel upset about it, that we just got cheated. Yeah. And it just brought up all these other emotions that we had with these friends, or ex-friends.
Sometimes I think if that person ever talks to me, I'll be like, hey man, could I have that $16,000 back? Because it'd be nice. But anyways, that's that story. So that's funny. Kelsey must have been a Patreon subscriber because we only told that story on Patreon, I think. And then Claire and Dreadlocks are saying that they've heard about us from Pee-wee.
Oh, nice. Oh.
And the trail documentary too. Yeah. So anyways, very glad we filmed that.
Kelsey, whoa, so shady.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. 7 and I bonded over editing. Did I read that? I feel like I'm in a Princess Bride. You know how that at one part they like go back.
We just watched that.
And then they read the thing, and the guy's like, "Grandpa, you read that part already." All right, well, this might be a redo. 7 and I bonded over editing the daily hiking vlogs. 7 had been editing our YouTube videos for more than a year as a modified version of homeschooling. So it was only natural that editing our video footage was his job out on the trail. It was Dove's job to create enticing titles and thumbnail pictures that would capture people's attention. We made it our goal to edit and publish 5 days a week out on the trail. Publishing interesting content 5 days a week is challenging back in the real world. When all you're doing is walking for 12 hours a day, complaining about the exact same thing, it's even harder to make your content exciting. 7 and I came up with challenges and tried to catch unique angles with the different cameras we brought. We cracked each other up, collaborating on funny ways to bring boring events to life. In addition to the opportunity to edit and upload our videos, Towns provided us with welcome and dependable cell phone coverage. We were able to plan for the next hostel, arrange transportation, order more gear. We also took showers every time we went into a town. Because of the cold, we took our shirts off on the trail, so it was a huge relief to let our skin breathe a little after wearing the same damp shirt for 4 days straight. We wanted everyone to enjoy their showers, but we had to start setting time limits because the process took so long. Once in the shower, it would take 10 minutes to get past the initial bliss of the warm water. It felt like being in a spa. We were shocked by comfort. No one wanted to get out. In hotels, we often walked around in towels, waiting for our turn to take a shower and for all the clothes to be washed. I walked around hotel rooms in my underwear, feeling happy and relaxed. It was quite a scene. One of the weird dynamics with hotels was because you had internet and electricity all of a sudden, it meant that I used devices for some probably what people would consider productive reasons and some non-productive reasons. There was like admin stuff, like we already said, like booking hostels and whatnot. And then there's the admin side on YouTube videos, which is like replying to comments and whatnot. And then there's video editing, but there's also like just all sorts of ways to get distracted online, of course. But the point I'm making is we would actually find ourselves staying up really late in hotel rooms. Whereas when you're in the woods, you go to bed at like 8 p.m. because it's so cold and boring. There's nothing to do. So going to towns was very nice, but it was also not restful. So it's kind of funny that way. Cammie and I got used to new rhythms in our relationships too. For the first 3 months of cold, the only time we had sex was in hotels. On the trail, it was too cold and too ridiculous to feel sexual in sleeping bags, especially since often Rainier was sleeping in the same tent as us. That was a bit of a mood killer. Hotels became an important connection point for us. Part of it was the practicality of lighting covers and not being cold. The bigger part, though, was that the trail didn't feel like a place for recreation. We were pretty consistently stressed when we weren't walking on a narrow strip of dirt all the way to Maine. We were either trying to make sure our toddler didn't walk off a cliff or desperately trying to find ways to stay warm. Hotels became a place to breathe, let our hair down, think, smile, and play. I'm not a big drinker, but it somehow made me feel civilized, and I needed the calories. Cammie and the kids loved cherry Coke. In the mornings, Cammie and I sipped coffee with half and half. Even things like carpeted rail, especially when it was raining. We got through it knowing that all of us, no matter our age, were sharing the same experience. And it gave us something to commiserate about. There's something about seeing your kids go into literal shock with you that almost makes the experience worth it. I remember twice my body broke out in cold sweats from being so depleted from calories and shocked from the temperature that it paralyzed me. Both of those times, I looked over at Memory, whose teeth were rattling uncontrollably and audibly, and we would instantly start laughing. Pain is often feared, but we learned it was more the isolation around the pain that we feared. When shared, the pain felt almost funny. It felt like a rare opportunity to be finding these limits of our bodies together. It helped, too, that we knew there was always another town coming up. Walking in the cold for weeks, the finish line seemed so far away. But knowing a town was only 20 or 30 miles away made those miles easier and seemed to go by faster. They were small stepping stones on the road to the greater victory. The more times we left towns to get back on the trail, we started to notice that the detox time was shrinking. The creature comforts we took advantage of in town became easier and easier to let go of the longer we hiked. We just didn't need them as much as before. Our sense of entitlement around pillows, showers, coffee, and electricity began to leave us. We found the pleasure we used to derive from our things just from looking into each other's faces and laughing at our common misery. It seemed we were now finding just as much pleasure from being miserable together as we were from being comfortable alone. Ooh, Hayden, you almost ready? Mm-hmm. Let me see where your section is. Ooh, it's coming up on the next page. All right, we got to switch here, though.
Got a few comments there.
Michael says he found us from the trail. Ooh, and Kara says that she started watching because of the trail videos and now is leaving with her family to through hike the trail.
Wow.
Wow,
Cool.
when are you leaving, Kara? I want to know. And how big is your family? And wow, let me know more of those details. That's really interesting. I'd like to follow along.
Yeah, same here. Moving on. After that first fantastic night in town, we woke up in the Holiday Inn Express and looked at the weather. It was the same as the day before. Rain and below freezing temperatures. Being cold was hard. Being wet and cold was dangerous. The predicted weather was the most dangerous combination for us, and especially for Rainier. Holiday Inn for 3 nights. 2 0 days against our goal that we could never get back. Every morning when we looked at the weather report, we wondered if we were making the right choice. Being at the hotel felt like paradise, but it also made us feel lazy. It was hard to fully enjoy the amenities knowing we would have to pay for the lost miles later. That didn't stop us from trying, though. We took full advantage of the waffle machines, yogurt, and sausage at the hotel's continental breakfasts. There was a pool and a hot tub, so we spent the afternoon sitting and soaking with other hikers. While being in towns is wonderful, it felt like we were selling out by leaving nature at all. Cammie and I often wondered if this was how we should be doing the AT. It seemed like there was a more right or pure way to through hike. Staying in towns felt a bit like cheating, and a twinge of guilt set in. We'd imagined hiking the trail for real meant staying in a tent and braving the elements, regardless of the weather. Were we still through hikers if we stayed in hotels sometimes? Would other hikers still view us as equals? As we discovered, the questions we were asking ourselves were a common topic of conversation on the Appalachian Trail internet forum, White Blaze. We'd already drawn attention there because of our YouTube channel, and forum users were chiming in with their opinions on our hike. It is quite irritating to see him market his family as through hikers when in reality they are pretty much just day hikers. 9 out of 10 nights they're off trail, either being hosted by someone or staying in a hotel, says Penny 1942. Talk about clueless. They're not going to last much longer. It only gets harder. By the way, they posted a new vlog today. Slow going. I don't knock them for giving this a try and having some fun, but if they cannot keep those kids safe, I hope they are smart enough to pull the plug on this adventure, says I am Scotty. Their gimmick has worked. I've subscribed just to watch the slow motion train wreck. Zed. The criticism stung. It echoed our own doubts about our endeavor. What had we even brought our whole family out here for if we weren't real through hikers? But when it came to these outside voices, we tried to remind ourselves that what they thought didn't matter. In my mind's eye, I pictured a bunch of angry, crusty old men sitting around in the comfort of their homes wearing pajamas. They'd turn themselves into some kind of council of elders, and they'd turn the AT into a religion. Having spent long, painful years rejecting the authority structures we had once been made to submit to, this was a religion Cammie and I had no interest in following. At the Holiday Inn, we were burning time. Because we needed 2 rooms, we were also burning a lot of money. At home, weather makes decisions easy. If it's raining, you stay inside. But our family had a goal to accomplish, and even though we had months to do it, avoiding bad weather, we'd never finish. We were only on day 11, and we had taken 3 zeros, putting our daily average at 4.75 miles a day. So, even though it was raining on day 12, the temperature had risen just enough that we knew we couldn't wait anymore. We couldn't afford any more zeros, and we'd have to skip towns for a while to make up for the lost mileage. When we started the climb out of the parking lot, snow began to fall. It was the first time we became really concerned about Rainier and the cold. The snow was sticking to the ground, and that night it was so stormy we slept in a ditch. It was the only protection we could find from the cold, harsh wind.
Eden, you ready? We have a very special, unannounced other guest here.
Yep.
For those of you guys who haven't seen the book yet, or if this is your first time, we got these journal entries in there. See that? That are photocopies from the kids' journals. And they're in like their own handwriting and everything. And this is Eden here to read her journal.
Okay.
You got to talk right in the microphone.
I just read this part.
Unless you want to read more. You can get carried away if you want.
Okay.
And you want to put like, make it dramatic.
Okay. March 12th, 2018. Today was okay. The upside was that we hiked really far. The downside is that instead of being in a cozy, warm hotel, I am in a smelly, gross tent filled with, well, let's just say that I hope no one thinks I'm related to them. And that's
All right, you got some people like Right Boss is saying hi Eden. Does for says hey Eden.
hi.
You got some people like hearing you read the thing, I guess. All right. Any final comments for Eden? She'll be here for a minute. Okay, wait, is it still your turn, Tammy? Still your turn.
Sure.
Well, let's go with some of these. Oh, big Eden fan there, says Right Boss.
That's nice. I need to say.
Okay, Kara says, she's getting May. 18, 14, 9, and 8-year-old and yourself. Wow. That would be a fun trip. Carolyn says the chapter about Ben flicking the baby was the best. I have 4 kids under 10 and want to flick them all the time. And then I feel like a jerk. Yeah, totally. I'm in the jerk club too. But what is that? The next chapter? We'll get there. All right, Cami.
Okay.
Thanks,
Bye.
Eden.
Okay. That was fun. Okay. On day 14, we sat in our tents eating our frozen Pop-Tarts for breakfast. We didn't want to leave. The weather report said it would be the coldest day yet. There was snow on the ground. Cami had just started her period. Could things get any worse? The silver lining was that we were steadily increasing our mileage day by day. One day we managed 12 miles, and soon after we had our longest day ever at 15.8 miles. That was a long way in the snow, but we were still so far behind. At the state line of Georgia and North Carolina, we celebrated our first major milestone. We had walked to a different state. We stopped to take a picture, but the cold wind was blowing so hard that it was hard to enjoy it, and the good feelings didn't last long. The physical suffering was at times overwhelming. Our shoulders ached from our packs, our feet hurt from walking, and most of the time we could not feel our fingers from the cold. Cami was lagging behind and seemed on the verge of tears most of the time. The pressure of our new goal placed a mental toll on her that the rest of us didn't feel. She hated being rushed. She liked taking it easy. These were feelings that she would have to put aside for the next 5 months. We planned to pitch our tent again as usual, but judging by the plunging morale, I felt the crew could use a little something, Cami in particular. Her body had taken a huge toll from the cold and carrying Rainier for the first couple weeks of the hike until we reached Hiawassee when I had taken over. She wasn't complaining because she knew the effect it would have on the kids. We couldn't afford that, but I knew if there was any way I could help her, I should. As we continued walking, I fumbled with the guidebooks and my thin winter gloves, trying to figure out how to get to a town. This was easier said than done. We had no phone service and internet was non existent. I thought money needed to be spent. If we could find a way to get to a town, we would. Eventually, thankfully, we hit a sign indicating that a place called Winding Stair Gap was 3 miles ahead and that a road from there would lead to Franklin, North Carolina. We didn't know anything about the town or how we would get there, but we knew the road would take us someplace warm, and warm was what mattered at that moment. Cammie had stopped at the sign and begun to change Rainier's diaper on the super thin foam pad we used as a serviceable diaper station. It was freezing, with the cold wind howling over Rainier's exposed skin. Cammie struggled with the diaper fasteners, her fingers likely numb. I could tell she was at the end of her rope. I asked Cammie, "How would you like it if I tried and got somebody to bring us into town?" She looked up at me with wide eyes and said with tears in her voice, "Are you kidding? That would be amazing." Cammie was my biggest priority, and I needed to look out for her. If she wasn't in a good place, she couldn't help me keep the kids motivated and in a good place. Even though we had stayed at a hotel only 2 days before, I decided I was more than willing to spend more so that Cammie could have a hot cup of coffee, something the budget conscious part of me never would have done back home. Hotel rooms only ran us about 200 to 300 a night, but in that moment, I would have paid thousands. The kids had hiked up ahead of us. We shouted to them about the new plan. By the looks on their faces, we knew we had made the right choice. Now it was just a matter of figuring out our ride. Shuttles, which you donate to or pay for, are the go-to transportation options along the AT, but they require cell service, and we had none. Our fate and safety depended on the kindness of strangers. For most hikers on the AT, hitchhiking is no big deal. Many locals passing by are glad to pick up hikers. It's a little different when you are a family of 8, though. Transportation isn't quite so easy. The road to town is just 3 miles up ahead, but we have no idea if we can find a ride, I told the kids, so they wouldn't get their hopes up. Our only option was to hitchhike. None of them had ever hitchhiked, but they were all game to learn. We did a quick ground rules session. Put your thumb out. Look for nice people. Don't get in anyone's car until we catch up to you. Dove instantly ran up ahead to stand by the road, her thumb out and a huge grin on her face. The other kids ran ahead to look for any cars that might help us out. The AT runs across a lot of tiny roads, and we knew it wasn't likely that someone would stop, let alone be able to carry 8 people. However, being in the woods does crazy things to you. Back home, we would have never even considered hitchhiking. We have 2 cars. We could always call a friend in a pinch, and Uber or Lyft seemed like reasonable options. Out here on the AT, desperation made all sorts of previously questionable decisions seem normal.
You want to read this comment by Shauna?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Shauna says, Cammie, which is me, has grown so much as a person the last year or so I've been watching. She has grown more beautiful inside and out. Thank you, Cammie, for showing your bravery and your weaknesses. Oh, wow. Thank you, Shauna, for that comment. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
You're out. You can maybe go over there, but it depends.
You tell me.
Well, you have a little bit of time
Oh,
before you're playing him. But first, I want to say that I agree with Shauna because Cammie has changed very dramatically in the last 3 years. We were recently read this thing where it says like every person goes through 2 or 3 different relationship styles or 2 or 3 different relationships in their lifetime, primary relationships. And sometimes it's with the same person. And I feel like we've done that where we've been married now for 20 something years. What, 20 or 21?
Almost 21.
And who we are now is very dramatically, because the last 5 years especially, I would say our relationship style, who Cammie is especially, feels like she's a different person. And at first, that's a little scary when you have this style of the way you're expecting someone to be, and then they're completely different. It was scary at first to feel like you're losing. I was like losing you, but actually, I think it's actually much better. It was just, can be a hard transition. It was for me at least. So I appreciate you mentioning that. And I also want to, because this is the Sunday service, I feel at liberty to share a little bit. I'm going to monologue for a minute or two about this section I wrote about White Blaze and how difficult it was to make the decision to even stay in a hotel, because there was such this strong ethos, at least from this one community. It just kind of like bleeds through that there's this like better way of hiking or doing things. And I think that way of judgment, it sounds really nice to be like, oh, obviously it's better to not stay in hotels all the time because people who stay in hotels all the time are lazy. But the problem with that is it's so unempathetic to all the different styles and people and motivations and backgrounds and histories. And really, I don't think it serves anyone. I mean, the only people it serves is judgmental assholes who want to look down on other people. And even when we're judgmental towards ourselves and looking down on ourselves. And obviously, like this book, it's somewhat metaphorical. Like these trail lessons have been so important to us in the rest of life. And with parenting, we grew up in these communities where it wasn't always said between the lines. It was very clear that there was like much better ways to parent. And if your kids were like obedient and quiet, then it was assumed that you were doing a better job than if some single mom walked in, were wild and crazy, and everyone just kind of looked at her and was like, whoa, like she needs help. And these like little underhanded comments. And this just became like a major theme for our success in the hike, is to kind of erase these judgmental ways of judging ourselves and other people for things that at the end of the day are pretty arbitrary. Anyhow, welcome to the Sunday service. Okay, meeting Arnie. We walked up to a park. Oh, I was going to say this though before I move on. This section that we just read about Cammy crying, this is where we were. I don't know if this is going to work. Oh, shoot. I said shoot, by the way, not shit, if there's kids listening. All these pictures. Oh, there we go. Look at that. That's beautiful. In focus. We fed people at the play. In this chapter where we broke down and cried. So it's so crazy to be there with these people. We saw people break down and cry in front of us. They're like 3 days coming out of the woods and they see food. And we were like, yup, we've been there. The only difference is this week it was like 50 and 60 degrees. And when we were there, it was like 20 degrees. Meeting Arnie. Oh, this person says, Carolyn says, White Blaze is full of bullies. When I hike the AT, stay in tons of hotels and try to have the most fun and enjoy everything. Yeah, I think that's all you can do, is do whatever the hell you want to do. There's no rules. Like, it's not a contest. There's no winning. Like, anyways, we walked up to a parking lot about 15 minutes behind the older kids who'd run far ahead of the rest of us. Dove pointed out an old white van pulled over nearby. It was the only vehicle in the lot. We immediately ruled it out because it had no windows and was likely broken down, since there was a man underneath. The man who was underneath later introduced himself as just G, the letter G.
Please wait while we try. Oh, just said it was unstable.
He was tall with a bit of a beer belly. He wore a ball cap and a scraggly gray hair stuck out the sides. Side note, there's no easy time to mention this, so I'll mention it now. G, the guy I'm talking about, actually died the week that this book was released. And we just found it out when the book was released. And it was kind of sad to find that out because they live an hour away from us too. There was also a woman, a lady in her late 60s, wearing headphones, a red jacket, and a beanie. She called her from the freezing temperatures of the woods to a bed with electricity and warm water. Loud, we couldn't hear each other talking. To read it.
Maybe I'll have you do it.
So you can smoke my cigar.
But I kind of want to show them that picture because all crammed in with Arnie 1 mile.
Do you remember at school when they'd like read the book and they'd show the pictures and they'd go like this? They'd be like, when they show it to everyone and you couldn't really see.
Yeah, totally.
Maybe we should.
I think we're losing people because the connection's weird.
Sorry about that. Is the connection okay for you guys?
Keeps on.
They might just be getting bored.
Drop like 15 people.
Being cared for. We had never met anyone like Arnie. She was a 66-year-old woman, 6 years. A year and a half prior to meeting us, she decided to walk the AT, and she'd been hiking the trail in sections ever since. She carried a ratty-looking white stuffed bear named Shah Julev that sat on her shoulder and that she talked to constantly. Dang it. Okay, sorry about that. Let me look at the internet connection and see what is going on because we want the music to be good. Sometimes I gotta see if like the kids are all online right now. No one's online. I don't know what the deal is. Sorry, we'll do the best we can. She said she was taking it slow and had started the trail in early February, almost a month before us. Her appearance and walking style was unlike anyone we had seen so far. She was being supported by G in the van. She referred to their group as the three of us, including the stuffed animal on her shoulder. She was doing some sections northbound, some sections southbound, and skipping some sections when the van needed work, only to come back and walk them later. When we all climbed warily out of the van, even though we had known Arnie for less than half an hour, we exchanged hugs. Then she included us in a little ritual. She had all of us tap our chest 3 times and say, "God bless you." Arnie knew everything there was to know about the town of Franklin. She was like a private tour guide. She pointed out all the best hotels and restaurants. She even knew the manager at the front desk of the hotel and negotiated the cheapest rate possible for us. "God bless you guys," she said to us. "You're living your own life." Then she added, "I'm sure you guys will hang in there and make sure your own hike." It wasn't the first time we'd heard of the phrase hike your own hike, but Arnie 1 Mile was the first time we'd seen it in action. The basic gist of the saying is that there's no wrong way to hike the trail. Others do the whole thing at once. Some do it over the course of 50 years. There are hikers in expensive waterproof gear, and others literally wearing garbage bags to keep the rain off their backs. Because the AT spans so many states with so many different cultures that has impacted many generations of people, Arnie had created her own category of hiker. She was and not allowing any of the cultural norms or expectations from the hiking community to dictate her mission. We thought a bonus of a town stay desk heard we were friends with Arnie. She offered to do our laundry for us. Cammie started crying. Overwhelmed with gratitude, we felt so taken care of. Arnie and G were exactly what we needed, and they showed up exactly when we needed them. We wondered if they were angels put in the parking lot by God. We had signed up for the AT to deepen the closeness and intimacy of our family, but we had no idea how much putting ourselves through the experience would open us up to simply receiving care from others. We had always heard not to accept help from strangers or get into weird vans, but these 2 strangers and getting into their weird van changed the course of our night, brought us to tears, and gave us a story to tell for years. And we you guys very soon.
I'll go get them.
Okay, it says the audio is okay. Real quick, this hike your own hike thing is so fun because you can use it anywhere. Recently, this last week, this person was on an AT Facebook page and said, "Be smart.
Don't have to.
Can you hang on a second? Yeah. Sorry. Jeez, people are saying there's no connection.
Oh, shit. Shoot.
Why is...
Hmm.
Do I pause it?